Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Couch Air Podcast. It's been a few weeks here. I have personally been sick, and also on vacation at different points, so that has led to me not being able to do videos as of late. But today we are getting back to it, and obviously we're behind on a lot of the videos that I was planning to do this off season. We are very behind in the NFL and on college, so I'm going to try and get as many of the NFL divisions as I can out within the next few days. Hopefully get all of them in by Thursday, maybe not, we'll see. I hope to get at least 3 in by Thursday, but getting all of them in by Thursday might be a little difficult. As for college, I'll do that over the next couple of weeks itself. So we start with the NFC North today. Um, we do the NFC North in this one here. This is arguably the toughest division in football with how talented it is, how good it is. This is arguably the toughest division, which of course has my Lions in it. Well, everyone on this channel is a Lions fan, but of course that is our team. Of course they get this division. It's going to be mayhem for this division. So let's get into our first team here, which is you can see it down here, the Chicago Bears. Um, like I said, every team in this division is good, so we'll see how it goes for everybody. But Bears have quite the team. So they start off the season at home on the Monday night opener, taking on the Minnesota Vikings before Ben Johnson will return to Detroit in week 2. Home to the Dallas Cowboys, and then on the road against the Vegas Raiders before they get their bye for the season. Then we'll be on the road to face the Washington Commanders, home to the Saints, on the road against the Baltimore Ravens and Cincinnati Bengals, home to the New York Giants, on the road against the Minnesota Vikings, home to the Pittsburgh Steelers and Aaron Rodgers. That will be fun for Bears fans if they can win it. At Philadelphia, at Green Bay, home to Green Bay or home to Cleveland, and then Green Bay again at San Francisco, and then home to finish the year against the Detroit Lions. I actually forgot about that. In the last video for the NFL, I did do over under totals for all the teams. I believe I still have that. And so the over under for the Chicago Bears, if I can find them, I'm sure I can somewhere. I just don't know where they are. There they are. The over under for the Bears this year sits at 8.5. 8.5 for the Bears. For Chicago. I like every team in this division, so it's hard for me to really say that the teams are not going to get to certain marks. For me, I absolutely think the Bears will reach 500 this year. I mean, that's really what this essentially is saying. Will they get to 500? Oh, yeah. I absolutely think they will. My only concern with the Bears is possibly the defense. I'm not sure that the defense is all that enticing. The offense is as good as it gets. I mean, the offense is absolutely devastating. The only thing with the Bears for me would be the defensive end of the football. But you look at the offensive end, Ben Johnson now comes in as the brand new head coach. You got no worries there. Not to mention the fact you got, Caleb Williams, number 1 overall pick. I think that guy's got more potential than he's shown thus far. Also horrible coaching, so it is what it is. Um, but I think he's got way more than what we've seen so far. You got Caleb Williams. You got DeAndre Swift still at running back. You've got Cole Kmet and Colson Loveland at tight end. You've got now the Missouri Luther Burden Jr., DJ Moore, and Roma Dunze all at the receiver spot with an overhauled offensive line, of which Ben Johnson, had a great offensive line in Detroit, now trying to implement that in Chicago. Obviously, you know, whether or not the offensive line will work will be a big part of the Bears' success. But this is a nasty team. And if that offense really gets going and that it becomes the well-oiled machine I'm expecting it to be, Bears are going to be tough to beat. And for me, I definitely have this team going at least 9-8, maybe even more than that. I don't know. We will see. Next is is my Detroit Lions. And I am nervous for them because I really don't know what they're going to do this year. They start at Lambeau, so fun. Against at Lambeau. Then we'll be back home to take on, like I said, the Bears and Ben Johnson's homecoming game. Back on the road to take on the Ravens, home to the Browns. On the road against the Cincinnati Bengals. And then on the road again against the Chiefs, home to the Bucks, and then they get their first bye of the year. How nice! Home to the Minnesota Vikings, on the road against Washington and Philly. That's a disgusting duo of road games. Home to the Giants, Packers, and Cowboys. On the road against the LA Rams, home to the Steelers and Aaron Rodgers, and then on the road to finish the year against the Vikings and Bears. The over-under for the Detroit Lions this year sits at 10.5. Very tough one again to say, because yes, I do think the Lions still have a solid team, but you look at that schedule and that's disgusting. I'm not really sure. I'm gonna go under for this, just because the schedule is brutal. You're looking at a lot of change for Detroit. You're looking at really who knows what's going to happen on the defensive end with the amount of injuries we've had. Guys are still recovering. Um, Offense, no Ben Johnson to be all creative like he was for us, making that offense so great. And like I said, defensive changes. I think this could be a bit, I think a lot of Lions fans that, those people who are saying Lions are a Super Bowl contender. I'm not sure this team's winning the division. And, we've been able to win the past 2 years. Last year was an outstanding season. The year before was obviously a huge surprise with how good we were and where we got. But I think I really expecting a division win or more than that, I think is a little tough for the Lions. I don't think they'll get there. Again, maybe they could. I mean, they could certainly get to 12-5 or 13-4 and end up winning a division anyway. But I'm just not sure for Detroit. It's too many for us. It's too many changes. There's too much going on. There's a lot of moving parts, and really, this situation with the Lions is eerily similar to that of what happened to the Eagles back in 2023 when they went to the Super Bowl after, getting essentially lucky against the 49ers, beating San Francisco, playing the Chiefs, coming up a hair short, losing Jonathan Gannon and Shane Steichen to head coaching jobs. And then you saw it happen the next season. They had a nice start and then completely collapsed at the end of the year, flamed out in the wild card, got destroyed by Tampa Bay. Then obviously they figured it out the next year and won the Super Bowl. Now, is that the way the Lions will take? I don't know. But, it really it stands to reason would the same thing happen here? Now, again, I'm not really sure what will happen with the Lions. Um, I'm extremely, shall we say, um, I don't know what the word is for it. I'm not there. You go. I'm not sold on John Morton, our new offensive coordinator. Uh, Kelvin Shepard, maybe he ends up being solid. I mean, I guess he was the Aaron Glenn understudy, but I'm not sold on John Morton. And our offensive line is certainly showing some cracks at this point with Kelvin or Kevin Zietler gone, Frank Ragnow retiring. You're looking at a lot of replacements to the interior of the offensive line, which, by the way, pressure up the middle has been the biggest issue for Jared Goff his entire time here in Detroit. So again, I'm hopeful for the Lions this year, but I don't really like their odds. And next we'll go. We have two more teams in this division. Next we have the Green Bay Packers. Green Bay is another team that I'm not real. This is a team I'm definitely not really all that intrigued by. Uh, I mean that's not because I hate them. Uh, Partially, maybe. Home to the Lions and Commanders to begin the season, then go on the road to play the Browns and the Cowboys before they get their bye for the year. Then we'll be back home at Lambeau to take on the Cincinnati Bengals before going on the road to take on the Cardinals and Steelers in their rematch against Aaron Rodgers. Then we'll excuse me. Then we'll be on the road. I'm sorry, at home. Take on the Carolina Panthers and Philadelphia Eagles on the road against the New York Giants. Back homes against Minnesota Vikings, their arch rivals. On the road against the Detroit Lions. Home and then on the road against the Chicago Bears with a road game against Denver sandwiched in between. Home to the Baltimore Ravens and then in Minnesota to take on the Vikings to end the season. Over under for the Green Bay Packers sits at 9.5. I gotta go under for this. Um I'm not really overly enticed by what I see from Green Bay. This is a team that is very young and obviously has had a lot of had a lot of growing still. We saw 2 years ago they went 10-7, snuck into the playoffs, and got the better and beat up on the Cowboys and fell short to San Francisco. Then we saw them this year; they ran into the buzzsaw known as the Philadelphia Eagles. Um, I think their defense has really taken a bit of a step back. Serious issues there at the corner position. Jair Alexander is now gone. Not that he really was doing anything for him before then. But the fact that they've lost him and now he just don't have anything there is obvious is definitely an issue. Um, Matt Golden, I think will be a good player for him, but obviously everybody's saying, oh, he's gonna be their, new alpha dog. I don't really see that in Golden. I don't think he'll be a bust either. I think he'll be another solid receiver. But what Green Bay is looking for is that consistent go to option and that go to guy that dominates the rest. I don't think Golden's going to be that type of player. I think he'll be another good receiver. He'll be something along the lines of a Jaden Reed, maybe a little bit better. But I don't think he's really going to be capable of being the go-to alpha dog receiver in Green Bay, of which they've been searching for quite a few years now for Jordan Love, of which also I'm not really all that sold on. Everybody just talks about Jordan Love being this superstar QB. Listen, he's a solid QB. He ain't gonna be a Hall of Famer like an Aaron Rodgers or Aaron Rodgers probably will go to the Hall of Fame. He's not a Hall of Famer. He's not a superstar. Best way of putting it. He's a solid QB, but he's not Aaron Rodgers or Brett Favre. I'm sorry. Green Bay fans are gonna be like, "What in the world are you talking about?" Well, listen, I'm also a Lions fan, so they're not gonna like that period. But he ain't that guy, and everybody thinks he is, but I'm sorry, he ain't that dude. Just plain and simple. Then we have the Minnesota Vikings. Now, this is a team I think is going to explode this year. They start again, like I said, Monday Night Football opener on the road against the Chicago Bears, then home to the Atlanta Falcons on what I think is actually a Monday night game, and then home to the Bengals. Two international games. The first Ireland game against the Steelers, and then the London game against the Browns. Back to back international games, first time in NFL history before they get their bye for the season. How we gonna do it after that travel? Um, excuse me. Then they have a home game against the Philadelphia Eagles, on the road against the LA Chargers and Detroit Lions, home to the Baltimore Ravens and Chicago Bears, going back on the road again, take on Green Bay and Seattle, home to Washington, on the road against the Cowboys and Giants, and then finish the year at home with a Christmas Day game, actually, against the Detroit Lions, and then home against the Green Bay Packers. Over under for the Minnesota Vikings sits at 9.5. I have over for this Minnesota team. I think this is a team that wins the division. This is a team that added Jonathan Allen and Javon Hargrave up the middle of the defense. Not to mention, JJ McCarthy now takes over at QB. Yes, this is a Michigan fan saying this, but I think JJ McCarthy will flourish in the NFL. Of course, he also gets the benefit of having Kevin O'Connell as his head coach, which, yeah, that's never a bad thing. Um, so he gets that benefit. He has all the tools I think that are necessary to be great in the NFL. And like I said, the defense had, you had Hargrave and Allen up the middle. You've got, decent corners. You got a solid O line, solid linebackers. This team has the defense and the offensive end. It's not like JJ McCarthy doesn't have options to throw to. You got Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, Aaron Jones. Not they got themselves Jordan Mason even as a backup. I mean, they've got options galore. Offensive line isn't that bad either. I mean, Minnesota's got everything. And, yes, it's going to be carnage in this division. And I do think the Vikings will have to deal with some of that. But when you look at really this overall team and what they've been able to bring in, what they have, I just don't see really. I think this is the best team in the division. And yes, all of it is very much dependent on the success of JJ McCarthy. But when you look at the track record of Kevin O'Connell and what he's been able to do with just any QB that just suddenly shows up in Minnesota, I mean, he turned Josh Dobbs into a competent QB. And then, I'm pretty sure he ended up getting hurt. Then then they threw in other guys like Nick Mullins and they had that Jaron Hall guy. And all of them looked somewhat competent. And these are, and Jaron Hall was a rookie, but Nick Mullins is a bum. That is not a good quarterback. And he turned that guy into a somewhat viable, into a at least competent player. That's not normal. And then Sam Darnold, of all people, he brings in. JJ McCarthy gets hurt. They have to use Sam Darnold as their QB. And Darnold ends up becoming a borderline Pro Bowler. Explain, please. Yes, he had 2 bad weeks at the end of the season and looked a little bit more like Sam Darnold, but for the majority of the year, guy looked outstanding. And this is a guy who hadn't done anything well in his entire career. And he shows up in Minnesota after a year in San Francisco, which seems to revitalize QB careers too. But you know, with what Kevin O'Connell has done in Minnesota, I think JJ McCarthy is going to get the same treatment. And you also think about the fact, yeah, he tore his meniscus. He's had a whole year now to see how Minnesota runs this offense, how they do stuff. He's had time to study the whole entire season. It's not like he's been away from the team. Yeah, he's been rehabbing, but he has seen everything. He's seen the whole season. He knows what to expect. I really think for Minnesota that this is going to be a really good year. And I think a lot of people might be surprised by just how good it ends up being. Well, that's all I got for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Obviously, I did my hometown team, so I had a little bit more fun doing this one, although I really hope I'm wrong with their prediction, and they end up being actually better than I expect. But we'll see. But yeah, that's all I got for this one. I've got other divisions obviously to get to. I'll probably do 3 today and 2 more tomorrow. Try to get them all in because the Hall of Fame game, which conveniently has the Lions in it, and then the Chargers. That will be on Thursday, so I want to get all these videos done by then. So that's all I got for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Until then, adios, everyone.